You're making a bit of a mess.
Oh, did I spill the tea? This video is brought to you by Skillshare. I am going to be brutally honest in this video, and I don't know where that's going to take me, but I know that I carry some biases, having been in the art community on YouTube for a very long time, and having seen Zach come up from out of nowhere and completely overtake all other art channels. Very impressive, and actually I've learnt a lot from him, and I think the art community as a whole does owe a lot to what he's taught us. But I have some negative feelings about ZHC that I want to explore, and maybe discover that I'm just biased in ways that cloud my vision. Or some of my interactions and experience and observations over time might be legitimized through the process of watching every single one of the videos that he's made. That shouldn't take too long, should it? So I've just done a fairly loose calculation. 3,362 minutes, it turns out is 56 hours of content. This is going to be a longer video than I thought it would be. That's not to mention the 54 hours of streamed content that he's done. He's done like 2 24-hour streams, come on! The most recent video that he's put out as recording this video, I customized a $10 million house and gave it to my girlfriend. That's a very ambitious and large video. We'll see that at the end of this whole endeavor. Who knows how I'll be feeling by that point. I do have a feeling that giving your girlfriend a $10 million house is kind of like giving yourself a $10 million house, just a little bit if you live with your girlfriend, but that's you know, we'll get there. We'll find out how we feel about that later. ZHC, 22.9, almost 23 million subscribers. This is huge. His videos average anywhere between 10 to 20, 30 million views. Insane. And a lot of his videos seem to be pretty benevolent. He customizes and gives things away to people. But this is what he's most known for. And it all really started around this period, customizing an iPhone, and then he just had hit after hit after hit. He obviously discovered the perfect paint to go viral. Don't know where he shops, but I really want to get me some of that viral blue, purple, teal, like that pink sparkly paint. There's some secret sauce in that paint. So I'm gonna call this current era Zach. What is the earliest version of Zach? And how did ZHC evolve into the behemoth he's become? I think the first thing to start off with is to share my current opinion on Zach. And that is, the reason I cut that is because I'm saving it. I'm gonna react to my opinion after I've seen every piece of content he's put out there. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm very, very right. I have a lot of content to watch. I'm gonna get some popcorn. In this room, I have 10,000 kernels of dried corn ready to pop. So I've got 10 minutes to pop all 10,000 pieces of corn. First one to hear the first pop gets the first piece of corn. Nothing makes me feel better than giving. So I'm gonna package up some of my favorite pieces of custom popcorn and give them to my friends. Hey Dave, sorry to interrupt, bro.
Yo, what's up?
I know you work really, really hard. So I thought if anyone would appreciate a piece of custom popcorn, it's you.
Oh, it's wet. What did you put on that?
I think someone else who works hard who's gonna appreciate some popcorn is Rob. Hey Rob, man, you work so hard and you picked the first piece of popcorn to pop.
No
so
way.
I customized a piece of popcorn for you.
Oh my God. What is it?
It's for the content, eat the popcorn.
I don't want to.
Eat the popcorn, Rob. Feels good to give. Okay, let's get stuck into this. Video number 1. All right, video 1, what's the verdict? Really strong start, great art, really cool tips, love the music, good vibe. I think this guy's got potential. Actually really cool to see those humble beginnings, really, really cool. So I gotta say, I was really impressed with the vibe. Like, this was someone who clearly has a lot of artistic talent, incredible drawing, a lot of pretty loud, high pace and upbeat music for actually what's visually quite a fairly slow presented drawing process at times, but this was a different YouTube. I'd say for 4 going on 5 years ago. This was pretty up there content in terms of pacing. And I have to say, the quality of some of the camera angles and visuals really impressed me. Like, for a brand new art YouTube channel to just be diving into it at that level, really impressive. I think the other thing worth mentioning is, at this point at least, it's just art. Really simple, very different to, you know, what he's doing now, but very interesting to see how it started. In this early phase of his channel, Zach was 18 years old, still a teenager. And my impressions of him at this time and in this early chunk of his channel is he is a good artist, like really good. His ability to convey scale, his instincts with contrast, and his ability to create this visceral intensity and use detail. Really epic stuff, like a phenomenal artist, especially as an 18-year-old. So, a few highlights from day one. My favorite video from this time was his workspace tour. He'd only recently graduated high school, which he mentioned in a previous video. In this video, he sort of showed his college dorm, and it was just the details, his treasured comic books, his favorite tools, a framed drawing he did of his classmates, all these little details that show that art really is his happy place, and it's a world he's the master of. I found that super relatable and really charming. My favorite artwork that I saw in this chunk of watching his content was the Pacific Rim kaiju piece. Phenomenal, just genuinely mind-blowing. And then the most interesting video I found at the time was actually the My Artist Journey video. First of all, it was adorable that he sat himself down and interviewed himself, but I also think this started to show a bit of movement in how he created content. There was a quote here where he says, "Things became more serious when people started following me." This is interesting. Followers were his motivation for making art. Now, I relate to this too. This isn't any accusation. At the end of the day, art is his performance medium, more than just his craft. But more than that, under the surface, this is the first video where I really see him use his life drama and storytelling at the core element of the video. And soon after this, in his earliest Q&A, we see him lean into the online personality element, making some jokes and puns quite a lot, leaning into more of the playful side of content rather than just tutorials and drawing videos. I'm learning a lot that I didn't expect to learn. There's a lot of context and probably respect I feel like I'm going to gain through going through this process, but I'm really interested in how it shapes over time. There's so much we're going to get to because obviously things change a lot, and I'm fascinated going through the whole journey. But it's a lot, so I'm going to go take a break. This is fine. This is a good idea. All right, getting stuck into day 2. It's still mainly tutorials, but with style. He starts introducing regular bloopers, more vlog style filming, holding the camera in his hand, and it's a little more personality based content. And I really suspect that it's around this point that Zach's content started to become the new art medium he was really enjoying playing with. Now, there's an interesting first sign of a trend that I would start to see further into his career, which is the use of people to get clicks. In particular, the one that stood out to me was Stephen Hawking. In a 15-minute vlog titled Stephen Hawking's Drawing Tribute Art Vlog, it only actually features any mention of Stephen Hawking's in the last tiny portion of a fairly aimless vlog video, completely unrelated to Stephen Hawking's. And it feels really thrown in at the end. And I get the feeling that it was sort of convenient low-hanging fruit as a framing mechanism for the vlog, which otherwise had no seeming purpose or hook. As the months go on, there's a lot of experimentation here. He's trying to find things that work. But it was on April 21st, 2018 where Zach experienced the first taste of true greatness, where his art was featured in a PewDiePie video. Now, not only did he get attention from the biggest content creator on YouTube, but he also got to use that moment to propel his own channel into the spotlight even further. In his next 2 videos, he legitimately got to use PewDiePie's name and likeness in a title and thumbnail. Now, this was no accident, of course. In Luai 30, PewDiePie centered a lot of the content around the lizard Mark Zuckerberg meme, a meme circa 2018. Very good year. That very week, Zach made his own art of Lizard Zuckerberg and posted it on PewDiePie's subreddit. And the following Luai, his art was noticed and featured, Luai 31. Zach had a plan to get featured in and gain attention from the largest content creator on all of YouTube, and it worked. I have a feeling this was a huge lesson for him about how much more compelling and successful a piece of content on his channel could become if it was centered around someone already incredibly successful on the platform he was clearly trying to succeed on. Let me just reiterate. I don't think I can say this enough. I'm not framing any of this as negative, but when I talk about the evolution of his content, it's purely just observation. And in large part, it ties in with the evolution of YouTube as a whole. Where day 1, my impression was, this is a very talented and hardworking person. My day 2 observation is, this is a very talented and hardworking person who works smart. He's got a plan and he knows how to figure out how to make something work, and he works for it. But on an ever-evolving platform where attention becomes more and more viscerally commodified, does that come at a cost? By the way, I can't say what he's doing is innately negative because I'm doing it. This is a ZHC video. If it was innately negative, I'm painfully aware that I'm saying that about myself. So once again, not going for negativity, just observation. So alas, art tutorials on YouTube would eventually pretty much die, except for within niches that would be hard to find. Which is why I'm really excited that this video is sponsored by Skillshare. I used to love making video tutorials on YouTube. I really love being a content creator and making entertaining content, but I still love teaching. There just isn't a place for it here. Skillshare, there is. And I'm a proud Skillshare teacher. I've got like 4 classes now. The last one I did was the most comprehensive one I've done so far. So go check out my brand new course on human anatomy on Skillshare. I take you through the entire body, male and female, and through 3 steps from sketching and blocking to shaping and then refining and detailing human anatomy. If anatomy is not particularly a cup of tea, but you want to learn some character design, I have a whole class on character design. I also have a whole class on character illustration from start to finish, and on being a YouTuber if you're interested in this content creation stuff. And I've even got a class on how to talk to camera. But it's not just my classes, there are thousands and thousands of incredible classes over on Skillshare, and you can try them all with a free trial for 30 days for the first 1,000 people to use my link in the description. Whether you're wanting to learn illustration or animation, YouTube and social media, how to make and run your own business, or more niche stuff from crafting to needlepoint, resin pouring, loads of cool stuff. So if you want to improve yourself, learn new things and further yourself, go over to Skillshare. Once again, the first 1,000 people who use my link in the description will get a 30-day free trial. Huge thank you, of course, to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. I'm gonna just go break. When I come back, next phase of ZHC. I continue to watch lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of ZHC videos, and at this point, you know, it all started to merge into a bit of a blob in my mind as I was slowly going insane, and started to use this time to practice my stop motion body time-lapse animation. I think that was time well spent. Zach is hitting his stride in the channel. He's confident, he's dynamic. He begins talking a lot about the daily grind and the ZHC fam. As his hustle continues and his content gets more refined, he gets new cameras and does his first merch drop right around when he hit over 40,000 subscribers. But it really is the next video from there where I noticed a tangible shift in his content. Really feels like quite an intense amplification, I guess. Now this is where I'll point out that obviously up until now, everything's actually been like really positive observations. Why did I open up insinuating that I have negative feelings about Zach? Well, to be honest, up until just past this point in the content I've reviewed so far, I wasn't very aware of his channel. He wasn't really on my radar up until I'm going to be guessing our next session. And as you've seen so far, his content has been evolving quite rapidly. So does it evolve into a place that eventually made me have some weird negative feelings that I couldn't quite put my finger on? We'll find out. It's clear to me that at this stage he's far more interested in targeting a broad audience with lower expectations of his talent, but who are engaged by his content style instead of the art community which he was building and developing earlier on. Again, these are not negative observations. They are just observation. A lot of these can be leveled at me, 100%. Sometimes I tackle big art projects, and a lot of the time YouTube's demands for frequency means that takes a backseat to something a little more reactionary. The problem, of course, is when that gets out of control, which I think from this point it starts to. Starting off with the injury. There was an incident. Unfortunately, Zach had a serious injury. Right when he hit around 100,000 subscribers, he got carpal tunnel and could no longer draw. And an emotional video where he announced via the title, "Why I Quit, Every Artist's Worst Nightmare." Except later in the video when he seems very uninjured and very YouTuber-y and not very sad.
Did you guys read the title? Well, it's true. I quit. I quit making excuses. Let's go!
Now, I wouldn't be so readily voicing my skepticism were it not for 2 things. I know that later his video styles and thumbnails definitely lean on some of these, let's call them fairly dramatic concepts or themes or hooks. And 2, later in his career when it works for the content, he's doing a lot more work than he ever did even previously with 24-hour streams, 50-hour streams.
I'm going to attempt to draw for 100 hours straight.
This is where I start to get skeptical and start to doubt how upfront Zach is being with us in his titles and thumbnails. How does the carpal tunnel claim hold up over time? It emerges once or twice, oddly between a good handful of videos where there is no mention of it, no wrist strap shown, and some intense drawings at times. It threw me off so much that I found myself researching carpal tunnel while watching these videos to verify the legitimacy of his claim, but it otherwise seems to be non-existent. Far too much of the content that heavily relies on the use of flexation of his wrist for me to totally buy the level of injury he's claiming, especially in the very emotional video talking about his injury.
I got the injections earlier. They just stabbed it into my back over here.
If you treat your neck in some form or fashion or by adjustment and your carpal tunnel symptoms get better, you probably didn't have carpal tunnel syndrome.
He said he's working on my back to help my forearm.
Symptoms begin gradually and then worsen over time.
A few more cross-hatching lines over here. Oh! Oh! Oh,
You may also feel clumsy and have difficulty grasping small items.
Today I'm doing the 10-hour speed drawing challenge. This is gonna be one of the toughest drawing challenges I've ever done.
After that video, it is not seen or discussed ever again. That is going to be the quickest recovery to a heavily broadcast serious injury I've ever seen. Now, I'm going to stop this train right here. I can't watch any more ZHC content and call out anything that could be perceived as an untruth without calling myself out. Because like I said, any criticism of Zach is actually a criticism of YouTube and what YouTube rewards. So how have I succumbed to that? In my last video, I alluded to making a life-size sculpture. I only showed the torso and the head. I only sculpted the torso and the head. In my chocolate sculpting video, when I first moved to the studio and only had half a day to record a video, the thumbnail looks like I made something really good, when really I made a janky looking cat. In both hologram videos that I've done, the holograms of the thumbnail are nothing like the holograms we experienced in the video. In the video I made art out of beads. I said there were 50,000 beads. The artwork didn't contain 50,000 beads. I bought 50,000 beads. In my two most recent drunk pieces of content, some of the wine was grape teaser and some of the whiskey was apple juice. I'm a filthy liar, but also a father, and I need to go home to my children. But I think you can see a running theme here. YouTubers are incentivized to use an amplified hook to get the attention of people to start watching the video. That is just the way the platform is now. And that is one of the greatest conflicts that I feel, because there are lines I personally struggle to cross, and I have to work around the algorithm to get it to my core audience. I think that all gets my point across. YouTube as a platform incentivizes dishonesty. There's an interesting emergence in this period of something called the Art Alliance. I couldn't find his original trailer to it on YouTube. It seems to have been taken down, but it's actually on Facebook. The value proposition, as best as I can gather, was for artists who had communities to get together and make content together, but also bring the communities that they have together to participate in content.
Art Alliance, assemble!
On the surface, sounds really cool. I'm all for stuff like that. In this phase, there's one or two artist alliances videos that emerge, but otherwise it seems to have dissipated into nothing. The ones I saw consisted of other established YouTubers contributing their time and skills to draw and review art for Zach's channel. No matter where I looked, I couldn't see Zach do the same on any of the other people's channels, which reinforces my initial impression that the Artist Alliance was a useful mechanism to have other people contribute to the majority of the videos that exist solely on ZHC's channel. I'll give you one guess which channel actually benefits from this dynamic over time. It's Zach. Zach gets the views and the monetization and the real call to action to subscribe. The other people get a link in the description, a mention, that's fine, but Zach's really benefiting from this arrangement. In this phase, we can see the beginning of the giveaways as they start to escalate with the intense and rapid growth of his channel.
I am gonna give all of them away to a lucky winner. You just gotta subscribe as usual. You gotta click that little bell, turn on the post notifications.
In fact, the more his channel grows, the more attention and emphasis to these giveaways and the calls to action to subscribe are given. This is also the period of time where I had a little more communication with him. There was actually, I guess you could call it a collab right around his one-line art challenge where Vex, Zach, and myself and the box office artist participated in a sort of like battle thing.
I'll give you 3 days to respond.
Let me just go ahead and show you how a real art YouTuber does things around here.
Where I did say one of the things that I've said in my life that has aged most like milk. So you think you're a king? And did I hear you say you have an army? Cause thinking that's understepping into my territory. Because if you were a king, then baby I'm your god. And if you call that an army, wait until you see my vanguard. That one still stings. That was all in good fun. And we all communicated via email about making that happen, and we were all on the same page and seemed to enjoy the process. But after the fact, and a few weeks later, Zach contacted me about doing a collab together. I have a really good idea for a collab that follows the trend person to do the most X in 24 hours wins $10,000. Of course, for us, it wouldn't be $10,000, but it would be the other person's artwork. We can count how many we have at the end. The loser sends the other person their $10,000 piece of artwork. It would have gotten clicks, I'm sure, but it made me really uncomfortable to self-value my artwork at $10,000 for the sake of more clicks. Now, actually, recently, I sold all of my artworks to help fund the setting up of my new studio here, which worked really well. Thank you all so much for your support. Not a single artwork sold for $10,000, let alone ones that took far more than 24 hours to produce. Maybe Zach's a better artist than me, and that would be fine to accept, but I don't think that that was the true angle he was coming from. It was content first, truth second. I tried to respectfully reply that that felt a bit too clickbaity for me personally, and also I felt we'd done the animosity thing. I thought it would be fun to do something more as a team or showing camaraderie, to even patch up the rift that was played out before. And to his credit, he pivoted to more of a superhero themed thing where we draw each other or do something like that. I thought it was a great idea. We sort of bookmarked it to come back to. We had a call booked, which I attended and he didn't. So that was slightly frustrating, to be honest. Let's find no hard feelings. He was very busy, obviously. He contacted me the next day and saying maybe we could brainstorm by email. No problem. In an effort to try and save the collab, because I wanted to collab with this guy, talented artist, up and comer, loved his style, really interested to see if we could do something together. I pitched something that he didn't show much interest in. Fair enough. That's what finding a collab feels like sometimes. He pitched his concept next, which was to make one giant artwork using 10,000 markers, one of every color from every brand, which would be a crazy big amount. Again, that's I've done that since we had this discussion. It's not 10,000 markers. It's not even close to 10,000 markers. It did cost me $7,000+ to do. In this video, I thought it would be a really good idea to show you which markers are the best and which are the worst by purchasing every single marker on the planet. Alcohol marker, that is. And unsurprisingly, turned out to be the most expensive video I've ever made! In for the penny, in for the pound. A good thumbnail would be us up to the neck with markers, which I feel like would be pretty fun and kind of screw around while making art since there would be so many markers. And this was jarring for me because I wasn't yet aware that this is what YouTube was. Zach was actually at the cutting edge of what worked on YouTube. He obviously was living and breathing content creation and the people who knew how to get clicks, and he was doing that. And that's what he was pitching to me. And I was a fool to not take it up, except there's that part of me that just can't not be honest past a certain point. I'm not calling Zach a dishonest person, but I am saying that the approach he's taking is one that is fully incentivized by YouTube as a platform, which is why you've seen it become more prevalent, because the people who leap on and act on that impulse first are rewarded most. That continues and escalates a reward system that puts certain people in the spotlight above others relentlessly. But I do struggle with the level of ostentatiousness and the removal from the approach to art and yet the presentation of it as art, such as when he approached me later and invited me to paint a Lamborghini in California. Definitely content. Who am I to say if it's art? Art is relative. But that level of extremity and commoditization felt like it was doing something to the art community and the audiences of our content. Alright, so I'm starting the next session. Something caught my eye in the first couple of videos where he's doing like a trailer to his channel.
Do the videos you watch no longer make you cringe? Is the internet just too fun and entertaining for you? Well, yours is luck. Introduce.
He shut the laptop on me. That's right, he was talking about the internet being too entertaining, but it was a fun little jab at himself. What actually caught my attention was this. It shows his channel feed at the time that he recorded this video. There is a Draw with Jazza Roast Me diss track, a collab we had with Vex and myself where we were sort of like dissing each other, but he took it down. I left mine out. The only evidence of our collab is me being mean to Zach. We're all on the same page, but his is gone. This is a fun sort of time capsule, actually. You can sort of see what his videos were performing like at the time and what his channel looked like at the time. Just interesting, worth noting. Except there's only one video on this whole page that is no longer on there. Why did you take it down, Zach? That was our collab. That was the only collab that we had. So the only things up there that are a part of that collab are the videos on my channel and Vex's channel linking to your channel. But there's no remnant of our collab on your channel linking to my channel. Now, to be completely honest with you, I look at this period of time with mixed feelings. On the one hand, Zach's putting out content like the YouTube Artist Rewind, which seems really invested in the art community and really interested in showing it all in a really upbeat and positive light, which is great. On the other hand, as time goes on, it appears more and more that Zach seems to be positioning himself to gain the attention of people bigger than himself to make himself bigger, and forgetting the people who he outgrows. But we'll get to that later. Sorry for all these intrusions. There's all these things that keep catching me by surprise. This is right around the period of time where I was becoming familiar with Zach, but also not doing a lot with him. It's been a while since there was an Artist Alliance video, but there is one that sort of popped up. It's a fun enough video. They're all doing art on Zach's channel. Again, it's not on anyone else's channel, but that's neither here nor there. I was just taken aback by just like this little random cutaway joke.
feel like flexing.
See my.
Hang on. I feel like flexing. And tore down my flex?
Feel like flexing.
Out of nowhere, that feels a little odd in a completely unrelated video. I wasn't still battling with him. Are we still battling? Is this the battle? What's wrong with my flex, Zach? Is my flex no good? Can we amplify this in post, please, Gareth? Just don't include me saying that. Zach, mate, you bring out the worst in me. Speaking of flexing, whether you appreciate mine or not, Zach was definitely working on his. And it's at this point that money and designer clothing and giveaways start really taking a firm place in the output of the channel. In his 197th video, we're introduced to a version of Zach that's a little closer to what we're familiar with. We see our first Apple Watch on camera and the hair turns a shade of green that's going to eventually turn into the hair that we're familiar with. Zach starts taking out loads of cash at this stage in his career to just sort of show and throw. And on occasion, and if it looked good for him, he seems to make a show of giving some of it away, but that doesn't seem like the purpose of the cash. The purpose of the cash seems to be to show that Zach has cash. I found a really interesting moment in his Spider Sonar video where he's sort of improvising, talking about himself if he were a Spider-Man person, just sort of inventing his superpowers. I'll just let him speak for himself as to what the Zach version of the Spider Sonar is.
Guess what? He turns into Spider-Man. Except for, the thing is, this spider wasn't just any kind of spider. This spider was wearing some expensive Gucci and Supreme on it, so this was actually a hype spider. Once Hype Spider discovered his new powers, he started flexing on all his classmates, and the people that once bullied him got flexed on so hard that they ended up in the hospital, and that's one way he defeats his enemies is by flexing on them. At the end of the day, he's got money. The thing about Superman and those guys is Superman had to earn his money, Tony Stark had to build weapons for his money, but Hype Spider just got bitten by a hypebeast spider, and having a lot of money was just one of his superpowers.
I think it's safe to say that at this stage in his career, Zach is pretty focused on some very specific things.
That's 5,300. 2, 1, go. We'll click on it. What's up, Mr. Beasters? I'm wearing the Mr. Beast merch because I'm about to do something insane just like Mr. Beast. I'm not gonna stop wearing the merch until he notices me.
Are you planning on getting it? No?
Mr. Beast, if you're watching this, I hope you're proud of me. We're supposed to fake it for clickbait and views! I want to do really idiotic things on YouTube, spend a lot of money, do some insane challenges for you guys, of course, great art as well.
Now I want to try and give him the benefit of the doubt here. In his last sketchbook tour, it's apparent that this guy has done art, and maybe he's just done with it. Maybe he's done it so long that he burnt out of that while he moved into being passionate about creating content. Everyone's going to feel a bit different about it. I'm sure there are going to be people watching this who think, yeah, I would do things. I would make certain exchanges or let go of one thing to get fame and money and attention. And I can't have a problem with people who seek fame and money and attention when that is a part of my pursuit at times. The weird bit for me is how closely that's tied to truth, and that's where it starts to get a bit yucky. But I do feel like it's just started, and I feel like it's going to be part 2 of this video where we dive a bit deeper into that, which is why I'm splitting it into 2 parts, because that's a conversation I don't want to rush. And the more I thought about it through this whole very long process of going through all this content, the more I realize it's going to be important to take this break for my ability to be level and give Zach a fair go. And as part of this, I want to offer Zach the opportunity to let his voice be heard in the next part. So I'm actually going to contact Zach. Zach, if you're watching this, I'm going to reach out on Twitter and your email, and I'm going to, as thoughtfully and fairly as possible, just put some questions together so we can just chat about some of this stuff at the end of me experiencing your whole journey. I have about 68 videos left. All right, I gotta call it. It's 20 past 5 in the morning. I have spent an ungodly amount of time watching someone else's content in full, and I'm more than halfway through, but there's a good chunk left to go. But like I said, I'm taking a break. I'll probably come back in 2 to 4 weeks, simply because I want to come back fresh and I want to give this conversation time to take place, both amongst this community. Please let your voice be heard in the comments down below, because I will be reading them, and also with people in the art community in particular, I'd like to talk to Zach if he's willing to talk to me about all of this stuff. But until then, it is time for me to go home. I hope you enjoyed this video and all the work that was put into it. There's a lot of exciting stuff coming on this channel, and you'll see my sort of content in the next couple of weeks between now and part 2. So make sure to subscribe for that, because I'm always going to do art and it's always going to be awesome.